So here we are. It's the end. Last class day. Hooray. Before the final in terms of 133. So let's just open the floor for questions. Does anyone have any questions about anything?
I had a question on page 746 on 3D, the interpret the Q1 value.
Yes. First, there's a typo. This is from an old data set that used to be on here, this number. So it might help if you note that it should be this number.
Okay.
That might help it make more sense. But then what does Q1 mean?
Apparently that somebody's here.
Nice. Well, go say hi and then we'll talk about it. While Laura's checking out who's at her house. Anyone else have questions, pressing questions you need to look at?
So Q1 would be the first 25%.
Good. So we use the language at or below, or there was another way to say it too, somewhere in between there. Less than or equal to. Taylor, is that good? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just want to physically see the note spot.
Oh, you want to see where it is in the in the notes, huh?
Yes, please.
Chapter 3. It's 3.5 is the section. Wait for it. Wait. Oh, I saved that. I don't know why I would have done that.
Where are you guys? What are we doing?
So we are currently looking up how to interpret quartiles. And we're going to the notes for where it showed us how to do that. And so I'm about to find it, as we may or may not. Here.
Page 107.
No, there we go. 107.
107.
Here's the reminder of what they are and the interquartile range and the box plot. And I don't know why I'm not just typing page 107.
There.
No, not this. Orphans, I think oh wait, I was right there. Wait for it. Wait. Is there not? Oh, I was at it. It was that. My bad. Okay, this is it. Page 101.
Okay, because I got stuck on that too. So is it page 101 is better than page 107?
Well, if you're trying to interpret a quartile, now this says percentile, right? But you need to remember that Q1 is P25, Q2 is P50, which is also the median, and Q3 is P75. So either one of these scripts is what you would use when you're interpreting that Q1. And then Peg, I pointed out the thing you missed is that this is a typo, that 97.8 is the incorrect number.
We're going over this. We just started, right?
Yes. That's
or
the
did
only
you
thing
already?
So I'm just letting you know that on page 746, you need to put in the number you found. You got to replace it.
I put 277 or 7.5. So what is it?
If you look at these numbers, there's no way it's 7.5.
Okay, it's 277 for me. That's what I turned it.
Good. That's what it should be. So you're going to use that number 277 when you're writing your script about it being 25% of the observations are less than or equal to 277. Just make sure when you're doing this, you write in what these observations are. And it's the length of the pregnancy in days.
So would it be like 20? I'm a little confused because I'm looking at the examples below on page 101. Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Something like that?
Yeah, so like your answer here, right, is well, these you're like answering these questions, I guess. Like if you were to write this interpretation out for example 2, you would say, let's say the child weighs like, I don't know, 10 pounds. If that's a reasonable weight for a child, like I guess not. That would sound like a baby. So let's say 30 pounds. So you would say 3% of all children weigh less than or equal to 30 pounds. That would be how you would interpret that third percentile. So if our percentile a Q1 was like, I don't know, 45 pounds, we would just say 25% of all children weigh less than or equal to 45 pounds. Is that helping? Is that making sense?
Yeah, I understand now. I had a question on where I could find number 2 in our notes.
Yeah. Oh yes. So number 2 is the old correlation versus causation question. And so the big difference between the two is, are you dealing with a designed experiment or an observational experiment? So this is page 31. So the question is, which of these two is it?
It's gotta be observational because you can't like make people smoke.
That's it. It's not ethical to force people to smoke. I mean, you could ask, you could try. And then yeah, so highly unethical to do that. And then your kind of thing there is, hey, this is a correlation is at best what we can claim because it's observational. So one of the things to note here, surveys usually fall into this category. You're just collecting data. You're not manipulating the subjects in your data set. You're not doing something to the data. Good. Other questions you all have?
Are we going by page? What page are you on?
I had a question
46.
on
Okay.
number 21.
Okay, let's go to 21. And I'm just, so Peg, I'm just taking questions as they come
Okay.
based on wherever anyone's at.
So
Let me just interject. On number 3, should we have used the unadjusted standard deviation or the standard deviation? That's
Is
my
it a
only
sample
question.
or a population?
Random sample.
Then the standard deviation. Unadjusted is for population.
Okay, then I did right. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead, Reagan.
so for 21, 5 random electric cars, whatever. And so it said normally distributed. So I did the mu0 standard deviation 1. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then a 90% confidence interval. So you go to, I did this a couple days ago, so I'm trying to remember what I was doing. So you go to stat,
T-stat.
T-stat, one sample with summary.
Data.
Or not with
Data,
summary,
'cause
probably
you
have
have
to put it in for data.
Nice. Yep.
You do have to put it in, okay. 89. Goodness.
But you also gotta do your stat calc normal because you gotta
Right.
get that other one
Right.
from the formula. I don't know if you did that yet.
Although you
didn't.
can click the show critical value on this one and it'll
Oh, right.
toss it out for you.
And that's the sneak cheat.
That's right. That's
You
the
know,
sneak
we've
cheat.
been learning, here's the thing, let me just interject. We've been learning sneak cheats like in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, where the F have these sneak cheats been all our whole life?
Well, every
So
time I've
90
done this, every time I've pulled this up for a conference interval, I clicked this button. So in chapter 9 is when we first did this, and that's when I first showed it.
Right. And then that summary, when you do the summary statistics at the bottom. Yes, yes.
So sometimes I just don't know. So means go, or I just don't know ever when to do T and when to do Z.
Great question. Means are always T's except when
Mhm.
calculating the sample size. So let me find, where's that sample size on the reference sheet? When you're calculating the minimum sample size, whether it's a mean or a proportion, you
Like
always
the,
use the Z.
okay. Okay. So that's the how many.
That's the how many. Yeah.
And Z is Z is proportions.
Yeah,
Proportions, right?
that's it. Proportion. Yep.
So I got 93.755, 115.845.
Sounds good. Okay. So a part of the where we're at, the question is, I think you're all in different spots on how much you've done this.
Definitely.
And the goal for today was to come with a completed one with your questions that we go over. So if you don't have it completed, what you should do is just dive in and start working. What you could do is mute the sound if like I'm talking and it gets in the way of what you're working on. And then when you encounter a question that you're like, I have no idea how to do this, you should first look at your reference sheet to see if you have the material. If you don't have the material on the reference sheet and you have no clue, you could, like if we're talking, you could send a chat to me or Cindy individually or to the whole group, whatever you're comfortable with, and just say, I don't know how to do problem 18 or 17. And we can point you to where to look. And then if that doesn't help you, I will gladly open up a similar problem in the final exam review packet and just work through that whole problem. And then you can go back and do the sample problem. That's what I had in my head of what we would do today. I think I should remind us of what will happen when you take the final exam on Wednesday. And so maybe let's do this. Maybe I should just write down a little, write up a thing of what to expect on that day. It's the same thing as for the midterm. So you have, you get Appendix A as a reference sheet. It's funny, it changed colors. You get your flow charts. You get to bring those. I think they're in the appendices anyways. You had to fill them out, but you just pull the ones out of your notes and put them in there. And then you get handwritten reference sheets. And I think we're at like 6 pages is what we said, 6 pages of we'll just say written notes. And that's double-sided. Of course, as we've been saying, like every class period, for chapters 8 through 11, we expect the majority of your reference to be this. I mean, you do whatever you need to do, but we're expecting you don't really need a whole lot more stuff beyond these two for those chapters. Yeah. So the final exam is it's going to be Zoom proctored like the midterm. Zoom proctored. What I was a little lax with the midterm, and I was a little uncomfortable with it, honestly. Just I think it's important to be standardized. So what I want for this exam is you're going to have your camera on, and it's going to be focused. I want you to focus it on your writing material. So the camera, I don't want to see your face. I don't, not that you all have lovely faces, but that's not what I'm wanting. I want to be able to see the desk and the computer. That's where, like,
That's what we had to do in science. We had
Right.
to take our, literally, and you guys, I mean, you literally take your laptop and just kind of, if you're on a laptop, and like scan the area where you are.
Well, so because I'm Zoom proctoring, that means the goal is to try to set up the camera so that while you're working, I can see what's on the computer and on your desk. And then if I pop in, I can just see, oh, look, you're using your reference material, and there's your like scrap paper that you're writing on, and you're being legit, as opposed to like, oh, there you are surfing the web and texting people or whatever. Again, I'm not particularly worried, but this is the, like, what everyone across all classes is facing, and I think I should try to be more standardized in what I do.
Yeah, but also it's a good data collection for you guys because you are going to see what are people using overall, whether what they're not using. So
Right.
data collection opportunity,
So
Mr. Statistics.
yeah, I love it, Peg. I love it. Yeah, it's good data. I think the easiest way to do this is to not use the camera on your computer, but to log in. Like, you can download a Zoom app on your phone and use your phone as the camera. That's and then you can have your phone like set somewhere focused on your desk area, like your workspace, and that's yeah. Let's see what else. You'll be in your own breakout rooms, so you'll have your own room, your own breakout room. You'll be able to ask infinite questions, so you have I don't want to say unlimited time, but it's not timed, but you do have to finish in one sitting. So you start and finish at when you start it, you have to be done before you have to hand it in before you leave.
I would like to ask if anyone out there in our class today, if they finished it, how long did it take you? It took me about 4 hours. I chopped it up, so I don't know, but about 4 hours.
Oh, you're
Does
talking
that
about the
sound-
sample midterm?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So let me get to the length of the final
Okay. Good.
to help
No,
you gauge
sample
that.
final.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see. Yes. And one sitting. Okay. So let me finish this and then we'll get to that. What else was I say? Oh, and I will email the exam when you arrive at class.
Eric, what link should they be going to?
Great question. So how about here's what I'll do. This is what I think is going to be easiest. Because I have, it's just this class. Yeah, so use the class link. Use the class Zoom link. We'll do that. I think that will be perfect. So let me because I'm going to do that, and I know, like I know there's going to be people showing up on Wednesday to my tutoring hours. So from 8:30 to 11, I will be on the tutoring hours link, doing tutoring. Some of my other online classes, people are suddenly interested in getting help, and they haven't been all semester, which is great. It's the 9th hour, I think. What do they say? Tutoring hours. So for this time frame, if you want to take the exam in this time frame, which I'm totally happy for you to do, pop into the tutoring hours link and I'll get you set up in there. And then once we hit 11 o'clock, we may need to I'll shift you over, if you're still working, into the class length. Otherwise, starting from 11 until midnight, I'll have the class link running, and we'll take the exam in the class link.
Okay,
So
I'm
if-
gonna be in the morning one because I have to work at 2 o'clock that afternoon. So I can start at 8:30 and just keep going, right?
Yep.
I
you
need
can-
4 hours. I need 4
Yep.
hours and I feel good.
Yep, you can start at 8:30 and yes.
And I've
You
got
probably
it,
won't
right?
need 4 hours, but you can
I know,
come.
but still, I have it.
Yep,
I have
you
3
have
hours.
it. You can have, yeah. So come to the tutoring hours link then. That's where I will be. The other thing is, on Wednesday, I'm gonna be in this room all day long. I just know it. I know that people are gonna be freaking out. I'm probably gonna get angry emails, all kinds of stuff, and it's totally fine. I expect it. I understand it. So if you're freaking out, I will have my email open. Just send me an email. Like if you can't find me or things aren't going right, I will be here and trying to be helpful. Okay, someone else was asking a question too. Were they? And did I? No? Okay.
That was me.
Go
I
ahead.
was I had to step away for a moment. So I heard the end of the tail end of that. So I dropped my kids off and I probably won't get home and situated with all my things out till about 9. And if I'm still working at 11, you're gonna be okay with me switching from
Yes.
the
100%.
tutoring too. Okay.
Yeah. Not a problem at all. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I'm suspecting people are going to show up to tutoring hours, but you never know. Let's see. So did I talk about all this?
I just have to because I have to work. I have to be at work at 2.
Yeah, no worries. That's the goal of an online class, is that it's flexible, right? So really, the window of time to take the exam is like 8:30 to I want to say 8:30, right? 8:30 to 8:30. That gives like an extra half an hour beyond our scheduled class time.
But
I
what
have-
you really mean is midnight.
I know that's what was like in my head, but I don't want to do that. And but if I have to, I have to. Okay, so let's talk about the exam itself. You may have noted, like what Peg, you're pointing out, it took you 4 hours to get through this exam, this sample
Yeah.
final exam. But
Yeah.
that's because it was longer.
Okay,
than
piecemeal though, I gotta say, I didn't do it
Yeah.
at one sitting. I did
That's okay.
piecemeal.
So it's going to be, let's start with like the structure of it. It will be sequential, meaning it will look like the sample final exam in terms of the early topics will come first, the later topics will come last.
We already
So-
proved you wrong. That's not true.
The very last question will be chapter 11 stuff.
Yeah,
Now-
no, it's not true. You you zigzag a little, but for the most part. So say we zigzag a little, but for the most part.
Well, so when I say sequential, I mean how we studied the notes. So if you look back at how we covered the notes, chapter 1 gets sprinkled in all over the place. And that's where you're probably encountering the zigzag stuff. So that gets sprinkled in different spots. Second thing is, this is a rough calculation. This is a rough percentage. I would say it's going to be roughly 25% chapters 1 through let's say 7, and 75% chapters 8 through 11, roughly. Don't try to quote me on that. Don't try to
Hey,
claim that it's
What are you
different.
doing?
I'm just giving you
Oh, God.
a rough estimate.
I am so
You-
sorry. I was talking to my dogs.
You're okay, no worries. So that's just a heads up that the majority of this exam is chapters 8 through 11. In terms of length, it will be, I'm going to try to keep it 10 pages long, meaning 1 page longer than the midterm. If you recall, the midterm was 9 pages. That would make this 10 pages. I expect it to be completed in a class period's worth of time. I expect that's what would happen. Usually the students that take way longer are the ones that are not fully prepared. I'm saying usually, and please don't, I'm not trying to say anything about anyone. I'm just giving you data from previous classes. If you like this one, here's a hypothesis test. If you've been practicing them and have crushed them out, these take you like 5 minutes to just write out. But if you're stuck on them and you're having to wander around and try to figure everything out, then it will take longer.
Yeah.
So my experience is that students that have been working through the class all along, they finish in some under a class. I've had students do really well on the final exam and take an hour. And the typical student, all right, so the mean or the median time is going to be a class period. So that's what, 2 hours?
Yeah. But here's the thing, and I kind of want to put this out there for our fellow classmates. You really have to dig back into 1 through 7 to find the answers for 7 through 11 sometimes. And that's what screws me up, because I'm like, what do I do? But it's already been there. So I think that the tying in for the previous courses to the last, I know it's only 25%, but it ties into that last.
Yeah. Oh,
70%.
Peg, I totally agree with you. Like this,
Yeah.
that is math. Everything's very.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the overview that I had in my mind. Is there any question about the final exam that you feel I haven't answered yet? Anything that you?
Not for me on final, but when we go over the sample, I have questions. So I don't know, whenever you're ready for that.
Yeah, I think we're ready for that, unless someone else. Okay, so
Eric, make sure you save that so you have it for tonight.
But can we go page by page, Eric? I mean, I don't mean to be a pain in the ass, but can we?
We can, yes. Let's see, let me put this on the desktop and let me say final exam overview. Here we go. Okay.
Good thing Cindy's got your back.
Yeah, right. So let's see, we got a request for 22. Love it. We're right here. Let's just look at this one since we're here.
Yeah.
This is page 756. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I got the HO is equal, it's P, I think, because there's no means or anything like that.
Okay.
And I said P equals 0.55 because it was like the first thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then alpha is 0.05.
Mm-hmm.
And it's greater than because somewhere in there I read that. Because the 59%'s greater, so like that comes later, has grown, yeah.
But that's also another good thing when doing hypothesis testing for a single sample. If your sample proportion is larger than the P naught, then it has to be a greater than.
Right.
Well, we should be careful because it could also be a not equal to.
What did you get for a P value? I got 1.
Point.
And that's gotta be wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
And so then I got to 3 and I was stuck like how to put it in stat crunch because it's a proportion, so you use Z.
Well, so, and Peg, what I was saying about, yes, you're wrong. P equal to 1.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's always wrong.
Yes, yeah, that can't be.
I know.
So, okay, so which, Reagan, where were you going in
I
stat
was
crunch?
going to stat Z, one sample with summary, but then
do
you need
proportion
like the mean and
stats.
all that. Oh, proportion stats. I always forget about that.
That's
Okay.
why.
So proportion stats, one sample with summary, number of successes. So then I just do like 55% of 1063.
Don't use the P naught.
I
Oh,
didn't
59.
find X.
Oh, I always forget about, okay.
Oh, Peg, is that what happened with you? I bet that's what happened.
Yes, I didn't find
Yeah,
X.
that's what would have happened. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'll leave that for you. I think that's all you need.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I should do a poll and see like how many people are totally done. Where are we at? Okay, cool. So I mean, like the only reason I'm not super interested in going page by page is because I just want to hit whatever questions you all have. Because I'm not like planning on writing up the
Yeah,
answers
that's what
per
I
se.
think too.
Yeah,
I'm wanting
and
to-
me as well, because there's some questions. So how about, do you think if we go like page by page and like if you have a question on this page, ask it. If not, let's flip.
Let's do this. We have a chat. Why don't you all write down all of the questions you want to look at in the chat? So everyone just look at your pages and say, or look through the stuff you've worked through, highlight all the questions you want, and just in the chat put the list of all of them. And then I can organize, tabulate and organize those really quickly in Excel. How fun is that? And then we can work our way through it.
Okay, so I need that one.
Reagan, what parameter are you working with in 27?
For 27, like how many?
Okay, that's a good
Is
one.
or is is that what you're asking? No.
Is it a mean or a proportion?
Oh,
It's a proportion. I think.
What are
Oh,
the
it's
two
the
fields?
weekly, like average screen time. Okay.
Reagan, also remember, if you see data in a table, what did we
Uh-huh.
say? What does that mean?
That's always mean because okay, yeah, that's right.
It's
Even
never
with
a
like the
proportion.
difference, even with the difference thing, like in chapter 11. Okay. I'm gonna write that down.
The difference thing in chapter 11, that's also a mean. That's of the dependent.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's always going to be a mean if you see a data.
Okay.
You know it's going to be a mean. So then you have to figure out, which kind of mean.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, this is our independent. And if you see the differences that it'll be a
That's
dependent.
dependent.
For tomorrow's class, you guys, I was going to continue and answer anymore. I mean, I can go over some more questions from that final exam review thing if needed, but we could have gone over what didn't get covered today, but it sounds like you guys are gonna get a lot of stuff covered today. What we could do is if any of you have my stat lab questions, you could come with those because that is due tomorrow night. What I did do, I will let you guys know since this is being recorded, is that I went this morning just so you would know what your grade would be if you did not do any more my stat lab right now. I
Yeah,
replaced
because I'm
any
just gonna
assignment.
say, I'm not doing any more in my stat lab. I'm blowing
Okay,
it up.
well,
Hey, Peg, let's let
Sorry.
Cindy finish.
yeah, so what I did is I went in and I replaced any grade that you did not get finished. It replaces anything that you have not started with a 0. So it does any incompletes with a 0. So it would show you what your my stat lab grade would be right now if you did not complete. You can still go in there until tomorrow night at midnight and you can still do those sections. Any section you can still work on up until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. After that time, it will not let you work past the due date. Yeah, go ahead, Reagan.
So is that updated for both the classes, our grades right now? My stat lab goes in both of them. I just can't remember if they,
Yes,
Okay,
it'll be 25% of my grade and 10% of Eric's grade.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Other questions?
I have a question on, let me look for it again. Open it. There's a lot of papers. 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. No worries. And y'all feel free to just populate the chat with questions as well.
On question 26, I feel like I struggle a lot when it comes to this table, and I don't know why. I think I confuse myself because then I look at past examples and like what we did, and I'm like, I don't know what to put.
So, it's tricky, right? So what I would say, I would go to this page 230. And the first thing you could do is just fill in what happens here, right? Like this is always true. This area is always correct. This is always type 1. This is always type 2. This is always correct. What we have to put in then is the context of what does that mean? So like what we're saying here, the cyclist is not doping is the assumed value, right? What would be the alternative?
That it is.
Good. So then what's happening, like you could then follow what you have in your notes here of how that's written out. So if this is the not and this is the is, then you could put in the things there of what HO is true. What does that mean? Well, that means in reality, they're not doping, right? If it's false, it means in reality they are doping. That kind of thing. Is that helping? Does that get you going?
Yeah, I pretty much started off with filling everything out about like error 1, error 2. Like I fill in all those spots. Then I just get confused of like the inner boxes of like that, like the one sentence to put, if you know what I mean.
Well, so if we make the correct decision here, what does that mean we're saying? Like if this happens, if we do not reject HO, and that is the correct decision, what is that? What does not rejecting HO mean we're claiming?
That the cyclist is doping or not.
It's one of those two, you're right. So when you're not rejecting HO, you're essentially claiming HO is true. So that's why if in reality HO is true and you do not reject HO, that's the correct decision. But if you do not reject HO and in reality HO is false, that means you messed up and the cyclist was not doping, but you claim they are doping. And so you punish a cyclist unfairly, is the idea. Is that?
Yeah, I get it. I think I just overthink it a lot.
Okay, no
I'm
worries.
still
Yeah,
confused. These are really hard for me too.
yes, they're quite tricky. What you need, what we're really wanting you to get, what you really, and what I want you to focus on is the idea of what does this mean? Oh boy. What does this mean? What are you claiming? Okay, hang on. My child is going crazy.
Guys, putting an example of one of these might be a good idea for your like extra pages of notes. Just putting like how we did an example of this. That might be a really good idea.
So I do have one in the bottom corner of one of my notes pages, but I'm sure that
Yeah.
I'm overthinking it a lot as well.
Yeah, I think we have a very generic thing on one of our appendix A where we put,
Yep.
what kind of decision it was. Like this is a correct decision, this is a correct decision, that this would be your type 2, this is your type 1. We did that, but we didn't like put any context with it or anything. So I think that you take one, whether it be this one that you finish or go back to one, because we did this in quite a few worksheets. And then we also did it, we did like maybe one or two in the notes as well. I know we did one with COVID. So go back and write one of these on your note sheet that has some context in it, because it does kind of help you like look at it with just context, not just that little box. That box kind of helped us just figure out what kind of error it was. Like if the null
Right.
hypothesis is true and you reject, then that's a correct decision. You just kind
And
of,
it's always like that same correct type 2 with
yes,
everything.
yes,
So if it's not, I did it wrong.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's kind
But
of like a 2 negatives, because it's always like the HO is a not. And so then it says reject, or it's true and it's false. So it's like, I don't know. It's just like really, it's like
it
2
is,
negatives equal.
these
Yeah.
are tricky. Yeah, they
Yeah.
are tricky because for one thing, you have to put context with it. That's not our like favorite thing to do in math, is to put words with it and say, what does this mean? So yes, if it was me, this would definitely be one that I would put in an example of on my note sheet. Just to so yes, when you write like the alternative here, so the cyclist is not doping, so then we would say the cyclist, you just say the opposite of this, so the cyclist is doping. So you just basically transfer these things over to here. So your null hypothesis in reality means this: the cyclist is not doping. So if it's false, it means the alternative. So this one goes here, the alternative goes over here. So the cyclist is doping. It's just the opposite of what the null hypothesis is.
How are we doing?
So Cindy, I'm doing 27. I have to put all these data things in StatCrunch.
Maybe, yes.
Okay. I think that's the only way that you can possibly.
I don't think that there's a link.
That's okay. It'll just take a second.
Ugh, yeah, but just
Yeah.
remember, you won't have to do that on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a nasty one to have to put all those in there. But do remember that the top box is all VAR 1 and the bottom box is all VAR 2.
Right.
Even though it keeps continuing like that, it's just
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
data values. So do you guys have more questions on that, whatever page we are doing with that? Doping thing? So again, if we follow our chart, if you go down to your first box, if HO was true and you do not reject, so HO is true and you don't reject it, right here it says that that is a correct decision. So you need to write correct decision in there. And then put some kind of, Eric, you want them to put like not just correct decision here, or do you want some type of little context to say why that's a correct decision? I don't know what you want.
Oh, for
Like I normally do.
Yeah, like, so in this one where it's the legal system, so you're innocent and
Oh,
you're
I didn't
guilty.
realize you went back to a different one. Yeah.
Well, because I'm no.
Yeah,
Oh, here we
I
go.
get it.
Okay,
They need to try that one. If they
so
haven't
if you're
done it yet.
doping, right? If you're not doping or doping, so we have reality. That not doping, they are doping. We're claiming they're not doping. We're claiming that they are doping, right? That's the stuff that's going on here. So when you make the correct decisions, what you should state is that you should show how your claim matches the reality. That's all you need to state. You're just restating the reality statement. Does that make sense, y'all? Like that's the sentence that you would put in for correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I'm so I'm so all over the place, you guys.
So part of what's tricky about this, right, is it's the four things. You're claiming, you have an option. You have two things you can claim, but then there's two things that can actually be true, and you're trying to match up. Did what we claim match what's true? And so we're really wanting you to connect how the claim goes with the context, rejecting and not rejecting, which when you run through the 6 steps, right, this is really step 5 and 6 combined, right? Because step 5, you're like, is the p-value less than alpha? And then you either reject HO or you do not reject HO. And then step 6 says there is enough evidence or there's not, but that doesn't really get to all of it, right? Like all of it is then, well, when we make this claim of not rejecting HO, we're saying that the reality is the cyclist is not doping, so we leave them alone. Or when we make the claim that we're rejecting HO, we're saying that the cyclist is doping, so we do something to them. Maybe we test them. Well, this is a test. I don't know I didn't read the context. Oh, this is right. So this is like a medical test or blood test to see if they're using some sort of drug. Like Lance Armstrong famously was all tested up. Is that I may or may not be helping? Maybe I'm just making it worse.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just over here making sure that I put in like the false negative, false positive, because I think that also helps me
Good.
comprehend and understand exactly what the context of what is happening here.
Let's see, Kayla. Let's see. Is that a correct decision? Let me think. Well, there's two correct decisions. Right? So there's this one that's correct, and there's this one that's correct. So it depends on what reality is, right? So what is this one? Well, so what did you put for the claim here? Well, so but what you're supposed to write here is the context. Like
I
when
put
you
cyclist is not doping.
okay, and then here in reality you put HO is true means not doping as well, right? So the correct decision here is the cyclist is not doping. You claimed it, and in reality they're not, so you did it. It all matched up. Life is good. Whereas over here, it's like, oh, they are doping, and you're claiming they're doping, and so if you reject HO, and in reality that's what's happening, yes, you matched everything up. You're good. Good job, right? The problem spots are here, the type 1 and type 2 error. And I agree with Laura that putting in which of these is the false positive and false negative is also a good idea to keep track of that. Which is listed, where is that listed in the notes? Was it in this section or did it come in 10.3? Yeah, it's down here. Go ahead, Reagan, what you got?
So for decision, I put new method doesn't work because it was like they're doing a new method for testing them. That's what I thought it was asking for, like the decision. In like the first line for 26.
Oh, no. Because you're not actually so when you run these tests, you're getting back results from each of these cyclists. And so your decision is about whether or not you're rejecting or accepting these things.
So Reagan, I think if you just take out new method and you just say that they tested negative.
Okay, just test
So
it.
that when they took the test, they tested negative for whatever.
Got it.
The dope.
Okay, I was thinking more of like the method works. Like I remember we did a helmet one that was like the helmet
Yes.
safe or not. That's kind of like the
Yeah, so you were
like more what I was
you were getting
thinking.
back to. So it doesn't always have to be a new method. So
Yeah.
just kind of think about that. Yeah, that would just happen to be a something in the context in that problem. But it's that this is you tested negative for the do not reject. So
Okay.
reject would be they tested positive.
Okay. Because then for like which is worse, I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this is one of those which is worst that like I don't know what to say, right? Is it we let a person compete that's been doping, or we keep a person from competing that has not been doping? There's been some famous examples of this in recent years. Who was the athlete? There was one of the sprinters in the Summer Olympics. Was smoked weed and tested positive for weed, and I think, or something like that. And they kept her from competing for that.
Yeah.
She was the top, right?
Yeah.
She was the best runner. And there was a
She
lot of.
I remember she like didn't do very good in the race after like all that too.
Was she allowed to run?
Like at some point later, not like in the race shoes. I don't even know.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's a real thing. Go ahead, Taylor. What you got? Is that who raised your hand?
Yeah, so okay. I don't know if I just sound like really dumb, but for the type 2 error, I put cyclists using enhancing drugs tested negative for using drugs. Like I don't that's what I put for that one. And then type 1 error, I was putting cyclists not using enhancing drug is found using drug or like something like that. Like that's what I'm getting from like what to put.
So, right, so type 1, you reject HO, right? So, well, type 1 is they're using the drug, but they're not using, but we claim they're using. And type 2 is they're not using, but we claim they're using. Because the claim here is, did I get that right? Do not reject HO. So they're not, so I think I said that wrong. So HO is not doping. If we do not reject it, we claim they're not doping, but it's false. They are doping. So we claim that a doping cyclist, we claim is not doping. Correct me if I'm wrong, you all. This is Lance Armstrong. He was doping. He was using, and he was like the dominant cyclist for years and years and years. But he was
I think
actually
you are right, yeah.
using. Like they finally found out. Like there was like, oh, he's got cancer, and so that showed up. But in reality, that he had something. I think, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So there was a case of we kept getting a type 2 error kept being made with him, and he was just, we're like, he's superhuman. And in reality, well, he was enhancing himself. I mean, I think he's still probably an exceptional athlete, but he was, anyways. So then a type 1 error is saying that HO is true, but HO, we reject HO. So now we're like, hey, this person is doping. That's the weird thing. When you have reject with the word not, it's like a double negative. We're claiming that they're doping, but in reality, they're actually not doping, which is the case of that runner. I think like she was using a drug that maybe it's an illicit drug, but it wasn't like a performance enhancing drug. Anyways, Taylor, does that help? Is that getting anywhere? Or are we getting?
Yeah, I understand now. It was also hard because when I was looking back like at the example from I don't know where it went. It was like I kind of tried filling in or like matching it in a way so I understood better, but it was like totally different, so it just was not helping me.
Well, and that's the thing of like HO, the claim could be the cyclist is doping. We could assume you're guilty until proven innocent kind of thing, which is in some way, that's the reality of TSA, right? Like we assume everyone that enters the airport has ill intent and they're gonna blow up a plane or bring weapons or whatever. And so we test everyone and we let them through if they come back as not having things. So you have to carefully look at your examples and see what is it, how is the claim being claimed, like what's in there. So you got to look at the structure as opposed to just yeah, cool. What other questions do you all have?
I'm having a brain fart on how to get the Z naught.
Which question?
The Z alpha over 2. That
what number are you
like
on?
where do I go in stat crunch for that? That's the stat
normal.
Calc normal.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. All right.
If Patty was here, she'd be saying between. She's like, Cindy, don't forget between.
I always forget that too.
You'll hear it tonight, believe me, Eric.
Let's see if I can preempt
You told me about 15 times on Thursday night.
Nice.
But that's good. They'll remember.
Yep. So, for those of you here, just keep working through the questions, and as you encounter things, ask us. That's the goal of today, to do that. So if you didn't have a chance to work through it, that's totally fine. Now's your chance.
That sounds great. That's what I'm currently doing, is working through what I don't have done.
Awesome. And I will do my best to keep my mouth shut. I feel like I want to like fill the time with my words, and I don't think that's not helpful. So you all, I'm gonna trust that you are, when you need me, you will call me.
Okay, I need you all ready. For number 27, it's the very last one, or 29, my bad. With this all has to go into Stat Crunch, right?
Yes.
So it's obviously dependent because it's difference.
Nice.
Quantity, not quantitative. And so for HO, I did the mu of H equals mu of W, like husbands, wives, and then
Okay.
for HA or whatever, mu of H is less than mu
Okay.
of W, because
Okay.
like they're saying that wives talk more or whatever, the
Yep.
words a
Good.
day. And so this all needs to go in. So I guess I'll just put this in for a second. But then I go to T, because it's a mu, and then two samples or paired because it's
Yes.
dependent.
Good.
Okay. And then I do the hype or the confidence level, because
Is it asking for a confidence interval, or is it asking to do a hypothesis test?
once I put like the two columns in, I can do the two different or do I just put less than for the bottom thing? For
Well,
the HA.
Oh, you're talking about here? Yeah, less than.
Yeah, less than, okay.
Because this is a hypothesis test.
Right, so
Test the
yeah.
claim. So we don't use the confidence interval. We
The
use
confidence, yeah.
Good. Go ahead, Laura. What you got?
Oh, I was working through that same problem. So as she was asking questions, I was starting to ask the same one, but she said what I was planning to
That's
say.
funny.
So good.
That's funny.
Love it. Okay, I'm gonna go check on my sort of sick girls and see if they're actually in bed sleeping. I know they're not. We'll be back in hopefully 2 seconds.
So for anyone that's present while Eric's checking on his girls, I'm on 25, and the result for that, I got the 1691.14. So then that would be one that I would round up. So it would actually be the 1692, right? That's one that we round up.
Is that what did you do for the like the equation? Because I got something different. Did you write it?
For the formula, I did 0.5 parentheses Z naught over 2 divided by the margin of error.
Yeah.
To the second power.
And so when you plugged it in, what did you, I think I did it wrong, because I never can do this right. I always get the 0.25 and the 0.05 messed up. So maybe or 0.5.
So I put the point for the substitution, I put that 0.5 on the outside.
Right.
And then for the top, the Z naught, I got 2.3263.
Yep, same.
And then you divide that by 0.04 because 4% is that 0.04, and then
And
that's what I got.
square. Okay, let me do it and make sure that I get the same thing. I just don't know. I need to like look back at my notes and see when to do the 0.5 and when to do, maybe it's because this is not a mean or something.
This is, okay, so yeah, this is a 2 sample. So with
Okay,
it's Michigan versus California.
okay,
So Laura's got it. It should be 0.5 because it's a 2 sample. If it was only 1 sample, that's when it would be the 0.25.
okay, so when it's 2 samples, because it's like,
It's 2 sample with no prior estimate.
okay,
So we don't have any, percentage where they said in the past it was, 39% or whatever.
so it's 1692 for each state. Is that what you got, Laura?
Yeah, so
Or the-
that's what I
okay,
was
yes.
asking was we would have to round that up because of the
Right.
0.14. So yeah, that's what I got.
For
Okay.
Michigan, so we write 1,692 for Michigan, 1,692 for, what is it, California?
Or you can just write it down once and say
For
for
both,
Michigan and
okay.
California, if you want to do it that way.
So this, they're asking how many, and it's with 2 groups, so it's the 0.05 or 0.5.
Yes. Buddy. So yes, if you go to your chapter 11 flow chart on sample size,
Mm-hmm.
so it's on page 260, you would see that the 0.25 is one group with a prior estimate and 0.5 is our bottom one. It says 2 groups with no prior estimate. 0.25 is one group with no prior estimate.
Okay,
So you're right. Those are the 2 numbers, 0.25 and 0.5.
0.5.
Yep. So you guys nailed it.
In the notes, where would number 6 be?
Hmm. Good question.
So you'll want to look in section 1.5 for that.
$44.
I want to check my answer for question 7D for the linear regression equation. It's the one where it says grade, right? Up at the top.
Let's see. Yes,
I just put that in and then I put X for attendance.
perfect.
Okay. Do I have to put like the full number or can I round
I
it to-
would not, I would maybe round it to 3 decimals.
Okay.
I just did 29 and I can wait a little bit if people haven't gotten that far, but if we could go over it real quick, make sure I just got the right stuff.
Is there anybody who has not done 29? We don't wanna,
Because I can wait. Yeah, I can wait.
Laura, did you get a chance to finish 29?
I'm doing the last part of it right now.
Okay, we'll wait.
Let's wait, yeah.
I'm doing something wrong here. I know it.
And you get a p-value of 0.0294 and a t-stat of negative 2.1628818.
That is what I got.
What'd you get, Laura?
I just found out where to unmute. What did you just ask me? I suck at computers, you guys.
I got a p-value of 0.0294. Is that what you got?
Yes, that is correct. That is what I
Then
got.
what'd you do wrong?
I don't know. I was sitting here trying to figure out how I get like I can do the simple math for the differences, but I was trying to figure out how I can get that column on there too, so that I don't have to do that.
Oh, click under options, edit, click the save differences.
Of course, it's that easy.
Laura, should I rat you out and tell you that you emailed me or text me the other day and said, I don't remember how to get into Zoom?
Oh my gosh, you guys, it was so bad. It's happened to me twice. Been getting on all semester and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get there. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss something. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? So I wrote Cindy on our Remind app and I was like, I feel so dumb. I don't know how to get on our Zoom today.
Well, sometimes randomly it will just like not let me in, or like, I don't know, it's so weird. Like I will have the hardest
And
time logging
unfortunately,
in on
I
certain
didn't see
days.
I didn't see the remind until like halfway through class, but so I noticed she got in. So didn't you remind Nikki from the night class? Or she comes to both classes and she like told you how to get in.
That's so funny.
I'm like, Laura.
Yep, she did.
It's a
Y'all,
sign of
it's been a
stress,
semester.
unfortunately.
Let me tell you, my brain is on like overload.
Things you guys will do to get here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We could personally email some people a link and
They
we
wouldn't
don't see
show.
them. But you guys are dedicated.
Man. Too many spots to click. I'm getting click happy here, you guys.
Right, so I did say that this is 5 pages longer than the actual final,
Yeah.
right? So,
Oh, it is? All right. That's the
well,
best
looks like
thing you've said all day, Eric.
actually maybe 6 pages longer, right? Because looks like it's 16 pages long. So this is much longer than it will actually be. Which, I mean, I said 10, but like that doesn't really until you compare how long this is to what it'll actually be. I could have said, I think I have been saying it all along, there'll be 2 hypothesis tests that you do start to finish. One of the singles, one of the doubles. And there'll be 2 confidence intervals, maybe, that you do start to finish, one of a single, one of a double. And then there'll be a sample size calculation. There'll be like one verify the limits are met. There might be 2 of those, one for a double, one for a single. There'll be a question about what's the probability of a type 1 error, or a question that relates type 1 error to type 2 error, like on the project. I'll say this, every year I've given a final exam, there's been a question like the very first one, where you find the midpoints and the relative error and the cumulative frequency and the relative blah, blah, blah. So expect something like this. Expect something like number 3.
The box plot, I'm having a hard time reading for some reason. I don't know why. I've looked at it 3 times and kind of gave it the how to and what for.
Do you get that this is all 50 US states?
Yes.
And it's the percent of residents in that state who are Hispanic.
Yes.
And we stratified the states, right? No, we clustered. Well, it doesn't matter. We grouped all 50 states by region. Okay. And then just as a reminder, how these box plots are read, it's a minimum, Q1, median or Q2, Q3, and then remember these outliers are actually part of the box, part of the
Alright,
whisker. We just don't.
they're included in the whisker. Yep.
Yeah. Which only matters for shape.
Eric, would it not also, oh yeah, max. I was gonna say it would also,
It's also the max. This is supposed to say median in Q3, but that's like, it looks like max, doesn't it? So median is this. Q3 is that. So I should have done it here because it's larger. I'll write this one as Q2 just in case. And then just as a reminder, the IQR is what's in between Q3 and Q1. And your summary stats gives you all this. One other note, I often see this problem messed up by students because when they run their calculation, you all did this on the midterm, several of you in this class. I mean, not necessarily anyone on this Zoom call right now, but when I graded the midterm, there was a group of students that only did columns summary stats when they should have done grouped and bin data when you have a class midpoints with frequency. So be careful with that. Do you have just a data set like what this one is versus do you have a frequency distribution, which is grouped and binned data? Okay, now I'm just talking. I just need to let you all work.
No, that was good. You just keep talking. I'm writing that down right now.
So you said grouped binned was the big one.
It's so instead of thinking of it the big one, think of it as when you have midpoints and or anytime you have frequency, we've grouped the data set. So you have to do a grouped binned data set for that. Good. And when it's just a like a column of data or a row, like the ones you did down here, we could have treated this as grouped binned data, but not really because they're two separate data sets. So no, you wouldn't. This one here, these are two separate data sets. And you would, if you were calculating summary stats of them individually, you would just do columns.
I have questions on number 8. So for B, I put 0.08 over 7 and then 0.28 over 7. I feel like I'm not doing it right.
I wasn't here, so which one are you on? I'm sorry. Which question?
You're muted.
So Taylor, those are already probability, there's, sorry, Eric, they're 8B.
Go ahead. You got it.
Those are already probabilities that they gave us. So you found the right decimals, 0.08. That is a probability though. And the probability of being read is 0.28. So you
Okay.
don't need to write them over 7.
Okay.
They already figured out the probability for us.
So I'm just stating the
Yeah, so
Um,
just go, so if it's the probability, remember the word, there is a special word there, or, so the probability, oh, sorry, it's brown. Probability of brown or red. So what will you do to those two numbers? I
add.
think you said, yes, add, yep.
Good.
And then
Yeah, you just don't have to divide them by 7.
okay.
If those were like whole numbers there and they told you how many red and how many brown, and we had to figure out the total amount, then you would have to divide them up. But they already did the work for us.
Okay. So I got 0.36. Is that just how it like the answer? Like I would just leave it like that or change it to a like 36%.
Either
Either
way.
way.
Okay. Okay, so another question on number 8, D for suppose the two beads. What is the probability that they're both white? So looking back at my notes, it would be like, is it the 1 subtracted by 1 subtracted by, and then I don't know what to put for the fraction. If I'm
Do you
thinking
know
of the
what this tells you?
No.
So if we're taking the bead out of the box and set it aside and didn't replace it, the probability of selecting another bead would change. Right?
Okay.
Because there'd be less beads in the box.
Uh-huh.
So that would mean they're dependent, and there's a special thing you have to do when they're dependent. So this means if you do it with replacement, we're calculating an independent probability. So let's see, on your reference sheet, take a look at, oh boy. Take a look at number 4 and see what that tells you to do. Oops.
So
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to think.
Oops, I'm moving all over the place. There we go.
It would be 0.20, right, for event.
So why'd you pick that? You're not wrong, but I would just want to hear your
Because
thought.
it's probability of event 1 and then event 2, and if they're thinking that if they're doing it 2 times, it would be white is 0.20, so it'd be 0.22 times.
You got
Right.
it. That's it. Now, when you say 2 times, what are you going to do?
Multiply
What
No.
times what?
0.20 times 0.20.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you weren't going to multiply by 2, which would be adding 0.2 plus 0.2. I just want to make sure you were clear. It's 0.2 times 0.2. Good. That's it. You got it. Good job. Ooh, I almost clicked the end show button. If there's no questions at the exact moment, I'm gonna go brew some more coffee. Okay, I'm gonna go do that. I'll be back.
I have a question on number 9. On how I can't remember how to find the mean and the standard deviation. Do I put it into StatCrunch?
Yeah, put it into StatCrunch and put, I put the number of times eating in one and then the probabilities in the other, and then you do your, geez Louise, I just did it. Your summary stats, and then columns.
Okay.
And then after you get your info in, I always put, instead of leaving them var1 and var2, I always label them. Because it helps me keep track of what information is where. And then you just pick the probability one, which is var2 or probabilities. And I let it do it all, girl, and I just click compute. So shall I need to go back? And maybe find the median and 5 more questions or whatever? I already have it. Did that help?
Yes, thank you. Now, is that the same for like the very first question? Like, I know to put in the StatCrunch, but what exact numbers do I put in the StatCrunch for number 1J to find the mean and standard deviation?
For you want to put in you're talking about 9, right? Question 9.
No, yes, but I'm talking about a different one too. Like, do I do the same thing for question 1? Letter
Go
J.
back to question 1. Oh, the midpoints and all that?
Yeah, for the mean and standard deviation.
Yeah, you're gonna want to put in your frequency.
That's all I put in for Stat.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
you want to put your midpoints in var1 and your frequency in var2. And then you do a summary stat, group min data.
Okay, thank you.
So Eric, they were asking a question on number 9. Taylor was on number 9. B and C.
Yeah,
I'm
That's another
trying to
group
find
thing,
the page where it shows how to interpret the mean and the standard deviation. I'm looking for it in my notes right now.
Oh, you
It's
guys
way-
have it. Like we did it like 20 million times the first half.
Oh, I know. Even if
It's-
I can just find it on a worksheet, that would be fantastic.
There you go. It's page. Wait for it.
Let's see, dates
Here it is.
showing.
It's first encountered on page 86. So the other thing I was going to mention about this, remember this table is the exact same table as this is just relative frequency is what this is. So Kayla, to your point, you can use either one. The problem is if you have relative frequency like this, when you go to StatCrunch, you can't use the grouped bend. You have to do calculator custom because these are decimals. Whereas up higher, back on here, you can use the relative frequency if you want. You just have to use that other calculator. Does that make sense? So if you're using the relative frequency, you go to Stat Calculators Custom and do your thing there. Whereas if you have whole numbers, so a frequency like this, you can go to Stat Calculator, or sorry, Summary Stats Grouped Bend Data.
Okay, so, oh, then I did it wrong. Because for number 9, I did it, but then I got, for the mean, I got 0.14. But if I did the custom calculator, then for the mean, I'm confused.
Should be a number somewhere between like
It was like
somewhere.
4.12.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Because it should be a number. These are the actual data values, the number of times someone's eating in a day.
Okay.
So it should be somewhere in here. And if you look at the probabilities, these are the highest probabilities are the numbers 3 through 6. So they're the more heavily weighted. So your mean should be somewhere within there.
Okay.
So I did that wrong then, right?
What'd you
Yeah,
do?
Laura, that's why I wanted you guys to talk it out, but yes. So
Sorry.
you were saying to do a custom or a column, but a column, remember, is only when you have like something, just one column of data. But you have two. You have, like Eric was saying, the number of times eating, but then you have that probability also. So you have things in VAR 1 and VAR 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't pick a column.
So does
My
that mean it
notes
would be
say
group
that if we're using
bin?
decimals, we have to use custom calc.
That
And
is
whole
true.
numbers is group bin.
So if you look,
they're
I tried to.
decimals, well, I'll be quiet.
Go ahead, Sunny, go.
Nope. So if you have decimals in like VAR 2, so like in this one here, when we have that decimals in VAR 2, you have to use a custom calculator. See what happened to Eric? He's getting an error message. But if you go back to the first problem that we had, then if we used just frequency, those are whole numbers, and we could have used group bin data. So your midpoints are VAR 1, frequencies VAR 2.
So number 1, you use the group bend
Yes.
or the column. Okay. But number 9, you don't? Or you do?
You can't because
You
they're
can't.
decimally.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try. Good luck. I did. Right.
Eric just tried.
I'll do it again. So there I
So
did. Go ahead.
With the decimals, you use
Stat Calculators Custom.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It shouldn't, Kayla. You should get the exact same answer or roughly the same answer. You might get slightly different. You might get slightly different answers
I
depending.
think because of rounding,
Yeah.
that it will be slightly different.
Oh my God, StatCrunch. No. I'm not gonna be disappointed after Wednesday when I don't have to look at StatCrunch anymore, you guys.
You love it, Laura. This stuff would be so much harder without StatCrunch. I've done this class like 3 or 4 times without StatCrunch. It's so much
Oh.
harder.
Oh, no.
So again, for 9B, it's not the 0.14 for the mean.
It is not.
So I have it all in there. So then I need to go to stat,
Calc,
calc,
custom.
okay, custom.
And right in your
Values.
notes, why are you doing that is because you have decimals in var 2.
Okay, then the values in ways, and the values are the number of times eating, the ways are the probabilities.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, StatCrunch. I'm gonna need a new eraser before I'm gonna need to start with a big oops eraser
Yep.
because this is definitely where I messed up then on the midterm.
Yeah. So the same thing with number 1, Laura. Make sure you're not doing a summary stat columns for that. You wanted to be doing a summary stat group in data for that.
For number 9 again about classical empirical, where is that in our notes? I can't.
So just to remind you about that, classical is like things that have to do what we think about, like probability, like dice, roulette, cards, that type of thing. That's classical probability. Empirical comes from real life. So real life data. So if we go back and look at this one, it's the number of times a person eats per day. So that's empirical, that's real life data. So something that comes from, like, would come from real life. And then the last one there, subjective, is what somebody thinks. So subjective is what somebody thinks. We really just did the empirical and classical. So if it was something about rolling the die or something like that, then something that we need to know that there's 4 aces in a deck of cards, that type of thing, that would be classical.
Yeah, it's my birthday and I'm doing math.
Happy birthday, Laura.
Happy birthday! Am I
My
allowed to ask
goodness.
how old?
Yeah, I'm 38. Don't
There
wait to
you
finish school,
go.
y'all.
Don't be messing with school, y'all.
Yup, don't be messing with school. Pay attention. Do it up before you have kids. You got this. 'Cause it is much harder once you have other responsibilities besides yourself.
To be or not to be.
Not to be.
Okay, so
Would number 9 be continuous or discrete? Because I know it's quantitative
are they whole numbers or are they decimals?
decimals.
Well, make sure that you're looking at, is that X or is that Y? So remember,
Oh,
X is your
X is whole.
first and Y is your second. Going back through, I know somebody just asked about, oh, Kayla.
That 2B was.
Oh, yeah, 2B, that we don't know
The
what other factors could be
correlation.
causing. That's part of it. Remember we had that statement. It's actually in 4.1, that correlation is not causation due to lurking variables, like what you're saying. So correlation is not causation in observational studies due to lurking variables. Yes. So Eric, we just found out today is Laura's 38th birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, Laura.
I know.
And I'm doing it right with a sweatshirt and pajama pants
That's the only way to do it. That's the only way to do it.
and 2 huge piles of paper on each side.
No.
Look at that. Brianna just paid you the biggest compliment. I thought you were like 23.
Ha! Thanks, girl. Squish, squish the hair I don't have.
Let's see. So we got like 5 minutes left for today. We're doing the same stuff again tonight from 6 to 8. So if you want to work some more, if you have time, more time today, and want to come this evening and just ask questions about things, that's all we're doing. So for me,
And
it's
come
sometimes
tomorrow.
and tomorrow
Yeah,
with
so
Cindy.
you guys,
Yep.
if you're still working on some, I'm sorry, Eric, but
No,
if
go
you're
ahead.
still
Go ahead, Cindy.
working on some and you want to, go over things tomorrow, like you're doing now, but if you, I know some of you are not done with some, and we get it that we don't want you to check until after you've gone over them.
Can I
Later
check-
and tomorrow. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and if
Can I
anybody's
check an answer
interested,
on number 9 with you to make sure I did it right?
Yes.
So for B, did you get 4.12?
Yes,
think
that's what we
they-
had. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and the C was 1.551.
That sounds about right.
Okay, great. I just wanted to
Good.
make sure I was doing everything all right.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The question is, where in the notes is 11E through H was one of the questions. This set, this is really, question 11 is really the same question as question 9, except we didn't give you the probabilities, we gave you the frequencies. And so you have to calculate a total, and any probability you're calculating, you have to take the total and divide by the total, right? So like for this one, it says good. So we have to ask ourselves, how many goods are there divided by how many total? So this is really a combination of 5-2 and 5-3. And I don't know if you all noticing Laura, excuse me. Laura has put in the chat phone number and is working till 3 p.m. I wish I could set up a room that you all could hang out in and work on. That's one of the disadvantages of Zoom.
Oh, that'd
But
be wonderful.
maybe you all have Zoom. If anyone, you can, like, you all have a free account, so you could, or I think, right? So you could start your own Zoom group, and for 40 minutes you can work, and every time your 40 minutes runs out, you just start it again, start your meeting again.
if anybody wants to do that, text me.
There you go.
I'm down to do that.
Nice.
Who was that?
That was
Taylor.
Taylor.
Okay.
Do you need help seeing how to set up a Zoom meeting?
I'm sure I can figure it out.
Okay. Just
Let's
log into
see.
your account and away you go.
Host.
Well, you can't be in my meeting. You would have to like go into your Zoom account. Oh, you're doing it. Yeah, you're right. You figured it
Right.
out.
I'm trying.
So all you have to do is send Kayla the link. Somehow.
Okay. So text me and I'll send you guys or text me or I guess I could put my school email in here for anybody that doesn't.
So do you all have each other's stuff? Because once I close this, it's gone. So do you have what you need to connect with each other? There's the email. You can also contact each other through Canvas.
Oh, I wonder if a big blue button or whatever would work.
You could do a big blue button. I wonder if I have to start that. I bet you could initiate that.
It's in Canvas.
I think they can do their own big blue button, I think.
I wouldn't know
Sorry,
that.
I don't want to keep you from class, Eric,
You're
but
good. You're good. So does everyone have Laura's information? Is everyone, you all connected so you can keep working if you want?
And you
I
guys should,
think so. My phone's
yes,
gone off
and
a
you guys
couple
can
times.
always
We got
get
it.
a hold of each other on Remind too.
That's right. Okay, happy studies. Yes, this will be saved and uploaded at some point. Yes, I should be able to get it. It always takes like 15 minutes to compile, and then, I'm like teaching the other class, so it just depends if I remember to do it right after class or not. So it should pop up before midnight tonight.
All right, I'll see you tonight, Eric,
Sounds
and I
good.
will see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Laura.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.